Go.
Today, I will be talking about beads. As you know, I love beads. I make beads on a torch, and we've been making fused beads at school. And after I finish showing you how I make a bead on the torch, I'm going to show you how to make something at home using paper. Okay? So, the screen will go pink because we're using a lens over the camera lens so that you aren't seeing the direct fire. I'm putting my lens on, and now you're going to see what happens when we put a lens on the camera. This is the torch that I use, which is using propane and oxygen. And this is glass that comes from Murano, Italy. And this is mandrel, which has been coated with a special clay body that the glass won't stick to the wire. So, I'll just take you through the steps. I'm first heating up this mandrel. To receive the glass. And then I start warming the glass up. Until it gets really molten like this. And holding the mandrel below the flame, I'm going to start just melting the glass, keeping it in the flame, and turning the mandrel. And the mandrel is what leaves a hole. Making sure that that glass is really hot, so that if it's too cold, then I'm going to pull the bead off the mandrel. Okay, so I have kind of a wonky looking thing right now. But I'm going to let the fire do its work, and I've got some special tools. This is called a marvering paddle. A beautiful little heart. So this is going to go over to a special kiln. Which I'm going to sit this bead in here. And that's going to drop down to 900 degrees. And then I can take this out tomorrow. All right, so that's bead making. I'm going to have Eric take the lens off the camera now. And walk over to this table. First of all, I'm wearing one of my necklaces that I love a lot. And I have more necklaces there that I've made, but What I wanted to show you are different possibilities, and something that I made for years were coin necklaces. And that is in the fall when all that beautiful corn is on the market. You can just take that, and if you have a sharp needle and you have to probably use a thimble, you can just push the needle right at that part of the bead, and you make 3 long strands of corn. And then after you have the 3, you just put them together and then wrap string around those, and that'll give you that nice effect. So that's how I used corn. But the beads I want to show you today are made out of paper. And these are some beautiful ones that are made by a group in Mexico. But for many years I used to make these, I would say during the hippie era, and we would make wall hangings from these, and once you get started you can't stop. So here's another version using a lot more, it's a little thicker. So what I'm going to need are some toothpicks and magazines, and I'm going to go through the magazine and just pick out pictures like this that are full of color and rip them out. Just pull out as many, don't even look at the pictures. And so once I do that, then I'm going to take and fold this, which will be the middle of that piece of paper. And I've got one laid out here. This is going to make a pretty fat bead. So maybe I'll go, I think I'll go with that. So this is just half. And to the fold, to the very top of that, of the paper, the page, I am going to make I don't know if you can see. I'm going to do this in a marking pen so you can see it. I want you to be able to see the line. So I'm going from this point down to this base that I want here. And the reason that I'm folding this paper is because I want to make sure that this is absolutely a perfect angle. All right, so I think I'm going to need to have a skewer, wooden skewer. Maybe I can get by. Using toothpick is a little bit too small. So now I'm going to take Elmer's glue, and on the inside I want to make sure that I leave about this much paper without covering it with glue, and then take and then spread very carefully the glue. All right, now this first part is going to be a little bit tricky. I don't want any glue on that this piece of wood because I'll never get this bead off of it. So I've got to really pinch it tight. I'm holding it really, really tight. You might have to do this, practice this. We could even make a little fold to begin with, just to make sure. I could twist it like that to get started with. And I can see right now that I'm starting to lose center. Okay, now here I go. I'm just rolling this up on itself. It takes practice. I'm struggling because I want to keep it straight, and I can see something that will help me for the next bead. You have to remember that most of the world doesn't have access to the bead stores. They don't have access to Michael's. You know, they are living with whatever supplies they have. So I think this is a wonderful example of what somebody figured out what to do. So this is going to be a pretty skinny bead. Make sure that's glued good. So that's a pretty thin one. Let me try another one and make it a little fatter. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make such a taper on this first one. I think I'm going to just start with it straight. I'm going to use true strips this time. That black line's a little hard to see against this surface. Okay, so this one, I'm going to not go all the way to the bottom. Get my glue up a little further. I'm cutting it awfully close. It might be sticking to the wood, but mainly I want to show you how to do the 2 layers. Just cutting this down a little bit. It's pretty fat for that. Now this one we can glue all the way to the bottom because it's not touching that wood. That's a little fatter. I took 2 layers. So the first part, when you first get that started, it is a little bit hard to get that to, you know, to roll easily. But, you know, this one is a really tight one. This got looser. But, again, looking at this beautiful bead, and we're looking at these others. And I think that this artist, they must have covered this with lacquer or something, or you could use clear nail polish. But I think they're great. All right, so I'll see you next time, and I'm sorry to say that I probably won't see you until September.